Why, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Josie Dumont podcast, hosted by me, Josie. And today I'm joined by Amanda, who is your Tarot Translator and Reiki Healer. And we actually met through an event by Jess, who has been on this podcast previously. And I just have to say, I've just fallen in love with the energy and great vibes from you. Like, you are just such a Wonder Woman. And it goes without saying that I'm just so stoked to have you here, Amanda.
Oh my gosh, you are the sweetest. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be so juicy, so good.
Yes. I literally can't wait to dive into the conversation, because today we're going to that's a word, dive deep into the world of spiritual healing and the impact of the little things that we often overlook. So it's all your expertise, because as you might know, we all have like those small struggles, like those tiny, insignificantly seeming things, but they actually really weigh heavy on our hearts. But before we do so, Amanda, what is your story of how you got to where you are today, including your big and small things that contributed to your journey?
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, well, I started off basically doing the same thing that most other people would. I tried the retail thing, I tried the customer service thing, I tried the business, the office job, and none of it seemed to really work. And since I was a kid, I had this dream, this idea that I'd be like some sort of business owner. I didn't know how. At the time, I was going to be a dance teacher. I was going to start a dance studio.
Ooh.
Then, the whole pandemic hit, the world shut down. I started this small business. I started making things, but none of it actually hit the way that this has for me anyway. And as the world started to shut down, I feel like my intuition started up, and within that time, I started delving deeper into how to read tarot. I had friends who were like all into Reiki. I was trying out Reiki circles, and I just found that that sort of healing, that sort of, I don't know, energetic space that I was taking part in was just like it was everything that I needed in that time. It fast tracked my mental health healing journey, like it in a way that you wouldn't even believe. And I basically decided I needed to try to at least create some sort of space. And at the time, I wasn't planning on doing it full time either. But here we are, 2.5 years later. We're doing this full time, and it's just, I could not be more honored to be able to offer that sort of space for people who just need that I don't know, outside perspective, who need that healing. And so here we are. I was basically, through the process of learning tarot and through the process of Reiki, I was starting to realize that there were these little things that were building up within me that I was either neglecting or just straight up ignoring. And a lot of those things, they could be from childhood. A lot of them were from like high school, teenage years for me, and they were all stacking up. And whether they be good things or bad things, I feel like I shoved all of it into a corner. And within learning tarot and within attuning myself to Reiki, I kind of came to realize that if you want that clear chakra system, if you want to be able to experience that energy as pure as you possibly can, you need to acknowledge all of those little things, whether they be big or small or good or bad. All of these things need to be addressed one way or another. And I feel like specifically the spiritual healing was helping me with, like, I don't know, it was helping me formulate an opinion within these things that wasn't based on judgment. Does that make sense? I feel like I say a lot
Yeah.
of words sometimes, but I feel like I'd make a lot of these judgmental opinions about some of these little things. And like some of them would be like, oh man, I can't handle people chewing. Like the sound of people chewing. I would get irritated.
Same.
Right? Like sometimes, like it's just one of those little things, you know what I mean? I feel like I would get so irritated and I wouldn't exactly acknowledge why. And it took me a long time to actually figure out that was what was causing the overstimulation. And so once I finally realized that, okay, that is what's causing my overstimulation. That is what's causing me to feel overwhelmed and stressed in that moment. And then to break it down even further without putting any judgment on the person in front of me, like they're just living their life. They're just eating
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to just like go through that cycle in my head and that, okay, I acknowledge that this is why I'm getting irritated, but I also acknowledge that they can't control it and it's just a quirk. It's not something that's going to actually like affect me in 5 years' time. It's just a thing. And that just helped me, I don't know, balance that situation back out, neutralize the situation again. And
Mm-hmm.
that sort of mental process, that's such a small and insignificant little thing. But in the end, it saves me overstimulation in restaurants. And it was so little, but it's actually given me freedom to go out and have
Mm-hmm.
dinner with people again, which I didn't even realize I was closing myself off from. But
Wow.
yeah, little things build up into bigger things, and all for the chaos theory. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The flap of a butterfly's wing can cause a tornado, but it really does feel like that sometimes. But that's sort of how I got into it. That's why I needed to create that space for people to be able to talk about it and work through it and make that cycle for themselves officially,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't think I will ever look at someone walking very slowly in front of me ever like the same way again.
Dude, I am like that too. I am like that with road rage too. I'm still trying to
Mm.
work that cycle out. I'm like that. Like, I get frustrated when I see people driving in front of me, but then at the same time, like, I'm in that boat too. I'm
Yeah.
sitting behind the steering
Yeah.
wheel. That
You're
can happen to
driving
me
as
at any
well.
time. And I just like, I see my boyfriend do it sometimes, and I'm just like, okay, we're gonna take a deep breath. No one got hurt. Like, nothing actually happened. Like, they made a turn. It's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just like, and people like walking slow, people in lines, not being able to make decisions. Like, I've been there. I've been able to,
Oh,
like, I've been the person walking
same.
slow sometimes. And sometimes I have to just look at it and be like, oh, they're just enjoying they're having that moment to like smell the flowers. Fine. If I have nowhere to be and I am not in a rush, then it doesn't actually affect me.
Yeah. I love that though, because that's actually, those are the things I've actually never really thought about. So I just love this kind of like new perspective on it, because I was just like, okay, cool, it's pissing me off, what else? Like I
I
can just like
know.
overtake and then it's fine. But to really take like the time actually to think about, okay, why is it pissing me off? Like, why does it make me angry? Where's this coming from? And does it really make sense to actually get angry about this? Like,
I
no,
mean,
not really.
sometimes it's true. Sometimes it totally like does get
Yeah.
worth like getting angry about. If it's one of those things that I feel like I'm going to go home and actually talk about at dinner, then it's one of those things that I feel like can actually like work me up. I feel like I can
Mm.
actually let that emotion just exist. But sometimes I feel like by the time the drive is over, I've completely forgotten that that person even made that turn. Or
Yeah.
that that person was even walking slow, and at that point I just, it's breaking a cycle in your head. It's
Mm.
breaking a bad habit almost. But that's just like one of the examples of some of those like little things that we can deal with. Some of those little things are things that bring us hope.
Mm.
And I feel like a lot of those things will sometimes be like, oh, well, that's stupid. Like, I do
Yeah.
that. I still get into that cycle sometimes. Some things that make me happy and that bring me like joy and make me hopeful are things that are like absolutely not stupid and absolutely not worth putting down like that. And it might just feel like a little thing, like to have your, what's an example? Like to have your evening routine. Oh,
Hmm.
this is a good one. For me, when my evening routine is ruined, I feel like the ultimate adult. I'm at this point now where I'm like, don't mess with the bedtime routine. Like, I don't even have
I love
kids or anything.
that.
I'm just like, don't mess with my bedtime routine. And it often involves me sitting down, reading like a chapter of whatever I'm reading,
Yeah.
and then having like, I have to force myself to journal. But I don't like journaling. I've just acknowledged that it takes a long time to do. I feel
Hmm.
like we've talked about this in a live stream before.
Yes.
Journaling is like not my forte, but I've been the last couple of months forcing myself to just do it. Just a page. I'm not forcing myself those whole 3 pages or anything, but it actually helps me debrief. And when I'm
Mm.
reading, I feel like there are things that come through, like downloads that come through, little messages that come through that do relate to my life one way or another. It's not always like fiction books, it's sometimes nonfiction, but oftentimes it's a fiction book that comes through. And I just need to sit down and recap. And one of these little things is me saying, well, I can skip that tonight. I went camping last weekend and I said, well, I'm
Mm.
not going to be able to read or journal. It's messing with my bedtime routine. I'm going to be going to bed really late. But I needed to find a way to make myself do it. And
Yeah.
even if it was doing it a little bit earlier and going up to like the little like loft that they have in their cabin and spending 20 minutes just by myself before supper or something like that to actually get it out, I just felt my mental health improve. I made space for that thing that brought me like joy and hope and made me feel like I was working through something important. And making space for that little thing as well. Why would anyone sit down and think, well, like, she's journaling, like what's wrong with her? Like no one's actually thinking that. But
Yeah.
when I was packing the book, I was like, am I like doing something like stupid? Is this stupid? You know? And
Mm.
it's so not. The little things that also bring you that good feeling are equally acknowledged, should be equally acknowledged anyway.
Yeah, totally. And that's actually something I have been thinking about, because when I first saw literally your profile and I was reminded of the butterfly effect, I thought back of that movie that's like super old, and I'm sure I get the storyline completely wrong, but it's about this guy who like travels back in time or something, and he like changes things here and there, and it all goes horribly wrong. Like things just get worse. I think he wanted to like save his girlfriend or something. Again, don't quote me on it. But
Oh,
like it just ends up really badly for him or something. That's all I remember.
mhm.
So I'm like curious, how would you say that the butterfly effect can actually be something positive if we start, obviously not traveling back in time because we can't do it, but if we were to start from today, to how can we harness it in a positive way so it can actually elevate our lives?
Absolutely. So I feel like, especially some of those little things in your life, whether you be dealing with that low road rage or a person walking slow or the person taking a long time in line, or if you like your routine is a thing that you really cherish or whatever it is, sitting down and finally like realistically, I feel like it's all just a mental cycle. Sometimes you just need to build that habit. And it just takes one time for you to actually consciously think, this matters to me in one way or another. It just takes one time where you sit down and you think about that thing, and all of a sudden, it starts to impact your life very slowly. And I feel like the more that you harness
Mm.
those things for the best, you know, I feel like there are things that irritate us, of course. There are those like little things that bother us. But to again, like sit down and realize, oh man, like I'm getting worked up right now. Is this going to bother me in 5 years? Is this even going to bother me in 5 minutes? Am I
Mm.
even going to remember that this person was walking slow? Probably not. And to just have that moment where you break that cycle, the next time somebody is walking slow or taking a long time in line, you're going to get to that point that much faster, and it's almost like a brain exercise a little bit. You're like you're
It
really
totally
flexing that
is.
muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like you have to take a moment to like break that habit, and it only takes the once, and that is so hard to do. Like I'm not sitting here and saying that that is easy in the slightest, but if this little podcast at least is a little bit of a reminder that like if it's not going to bother me in 5 years, if it's not something that's worth bringing up at dinner time, then it's not worth bothering me right now. Or if that one thing that brings you that joy, brings you that hope actually is important to you, implement it. Find a way to schedule it if that's the way it works for you. Find like a random time throughout the day. Like if you need to have a moment of meditation while you're sitting on the toilet, man, like that going back into work will calm down your nerves so much that it will come that much more naturally to you the next
Mm.
time. And the more that you prioritize that in your life, the more it makes an effect. And I feel like even like tarot, one of those little things for me was, especially as I was just learning how to read tarot, was pulling one card a day and taking my time to like read whatever article I Googled that day to figure out what that actually meant. And it felt hard at first. It was not easy. And there are
Yeah.
a lot of cards with a lot of symbols. Like it
Yes.
is really intimidating.
Yes, it is.
It really is. And like it was so like I hated when people tell me, "Well, just pull one card a day." Like what is that going to do? I'm like, "Yeah, but like do you expect me to remember in 50 days what that one card meant if I pull a different card every single day?" Would you believe I am 3, 4 years deep now, and like it comes like so naturally to me, and I've started a business based off of it,
Mhm.
and I've had people come up to me saying like, "I did not expect it to be like one cheaper than therapy." Like I'm not replacing myself as a therapist, but like to have people come out with that kind of epiphany from a session with me, like I couldn't believe how pulling one card a day during like the global shutdown affected the people I love and the people's lives around me, it's the craziest thing to experience. And like even just journaling once a day, getting that line out is enough for you to intentionally put something down on paper. And it even like streamlines your thought process a little bit more.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's just so crazy how it actually changes everything so fast.
But that's the thing. So basically, just to put it all into one bucket almost, or in a nutshell, that's how you say it. Not in a bucket. Put it in a bucket. No, we put it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Is that obviously like tarot, but also journaling. And as you said, like imagine just like if you were looking back at it from like 5 years from now, these are all perspective shifts. They're all invitation for you to look at the situation that you're in right now from a completely different perspective. And that might open up some completely new insight that you just haven't been seeing before. And that's the gift about it, because as soon as you start to see things differently, or as soon as you start to see things for what they truly are, you can change them, but also the things that you're looking at, they change, because maybe you have been like so bogged up about like someone walking slowly, someone chewing loudly, all of these things. But then with this kind of shift, it's actually like, when I'm on my deathbed right now, I wouldn't think about like that one person 47 years ago that was chewing in my favorite restaurant way too loudly. It destroyed my whole meal. Like, no, you wouldn't think about those kind of things.
Right.
So it is really this invitation of a perspective shift that is so, so powerful right here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's all mindset. Like this is why this is the perfect collab. It's the perfect like really mindset shift. It really is. And that's all it takes. And I feel like, oh man, I had a quote recently and I have to pull it up. I don't know if you can still in my Zoom call, if you can still see me, but I want to pull up this quote like word for word, because I just thought it was so incredible. It's obviously all about your manifestation, like in your mind. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Where is it? Down at the bottom of my little, how about a point? There it is. Okay. You are only subject to what you hold in mind. So if you think that such a thing is injurious to you, it will be by virtue of the fact that you believe it will be, because in and within itself, it has no power. And it is truly just that. If you believe something is going to hurt you, it will.
Yes.
But the opposite 100%. Is also so possible. If you believe that thing is good for you, it is. And when you listen to your intuition, when you start integrating all of these like healthy mindset habits and you're really trying to do it for your greatest, like highest potential, I feel like it can't go wrong. If something is toxic to you and you truly believe it to be toxic to you, it is, whether or not that thing is actually like out to get you. But the opposite is so possible as well. And I feel like it's just so important that mindset is the forefront of why you're doing things anyway.
Yes, 100%. I feel like one of obviously the most present examples for me, and also because I've been talking about it yesterday actually in a podcast where I was a guest on, is literally the fact that like 2021, when I went through like burnout, divorce, and redundancy, like all of those shit shows all at once, I could have said like, oh, this is like all bad. This is like all happening to me. Like, this is toxic. This is horrible. This is hurting me. And yes, it was hurting me. But at the same time, I also started to recognize it as this opportunity to change things. And now in hindsight, I'm like, this was actually good for me. Like, this has helped me to change life so much for the better. So again, this is kind of like this invitation of a perspective shift, even if you go through a shit show right now, to start seeing it as something that might actually be good for you. Because again, what you focus on, you grow. And if you keep on focusing on the weeds and everything that's like growing in your garden that you don't like, all of the slugs that are eating away at your vegetables, like if you only focus on that, then you will get more of that. But if you focus on what's actually growing there, and if you water what you want to water and allow that to like grow within you, then that's what you will see more of in your life.
Exactly. And I love saying that a weed is only a weed if you don't want it there.
Yeah.
So it's very much looking at the thing, deciding whether or not that's a thing that you want in your garden, in your life. And if it is, wonderful. If it's a weed to someone else, what does it matter? Because it's beautiful in your garden. I had a similar situation go on like December of last year. So like, oh my gosh, a couple months ago now. It feels like it was like last week sometimes, but I went through a big job shift. I was working full time in a gym. I found myself spiraling into something I did not want to be. And
Mm-hmm.
I was upset and angry going in there. I was coming back home saying, like, they are out to get me. And like, look, I still believe that they were. I feel like there was still an element of harm that was going on in there. But when the whole thing crashed down, like there was like attacks on my family, attacks on my
Mm-hmm.
love life.
Whoa.
It was so toxic that in the moment that everything came crashing down, I wasn't even angry. I just kept repeating, I'm just protecting my peace. And I called in sick the first day it happened and I said, sorry, like I'm not feeling great. And it didn't quite spiral down the whole staff, but it did pretty quickly. Like within a
Mm-hmm.
couple of days, everyone sort of knew what was going on. And I was already in contact with like not my manager, but my manager's boss because like it
Mm-hmm.
was that bad.
Oh
And they had
gosh.
gotten me in with HR and they were talking to me. And by the second day that I called in sick, they were like, yeah, whatever. Like, we don't really want you here. And I was like, I don't want to be here. So I'm in the process
Good.
of the layoff right now. Like I was not prepared. I was not prepared to leave. I thought this was my full-time gig, right?
Yeah.
And so as it was all happening, I was just like, no, I'm not going in because I need to protect my peace. It is not worth working up everything inside of me, working up all of the people that I love. It just wasn't. And so after my third day of calling in sick, they were like, we hear you're in contact with XYZ. And I was like, yep, they'll be in contact with you shortly. And then they never messaged me again. And I never went back in. And I could have been infuriated that whole time.
Yes.
I could have been, and I was angry to an extent. Like I absolutely was angry to an extent, but that's like natural. I'm also human. But the
Yeah,
reason
of
why I was
course.
doing it, and even when people would try to bring it up, like people would try to gossip with me about it, I'd be like, no, like I am protecting my peace. I can't. I can't do that to myself. It is not worth the money. I had to prioritize that at that point. And it's just a perspective. Like realistically, I could have been angry and I just chose not to be.
I
That's
love
as
that.
easy as it gets to be,
Yeah,
you know?
it
Like,
truly is. I just want to say, like, kudos for really like taking a step to protect your peace, because sometimes people are like, well, no, that's too scary because I do need the money. And they get too sidetracked by all of those like negative things that could happen. And they get into this like worst case scenario thinking. But you were like, I acknowledge like this is not really nice of what's going on. I am angry. Like I'm realizing that. But at the same time, I'm taking like the choice and make the decision that I want to
yeah.
protect my peace. This is not worth it.
Mhm.
And this just really speaks volumes about also like obviously your mindset power here as well, because you've already trained it like so much that you could acknowledge that and be like standing up for yourself. So big kudos to you.
Thank
I
you.
just want to say that. Big kudos to you.
Honestly, I was so angry and so mad the whole time. And I feel like I just had to think about like who I wanted to be. And I'm clearly spiraling into someone I didn't want to be. And at that point, what do I prioritize?
Yeah.
And it might have just been the little choice of calling in sick that first day. But within those couple of hours that it took for them to respond, I was like, you know what? I can't do this. And then
Yeah.
that one little text to that big boss there is spiraling to now me doing this full time for nearly 9 months, which is madness to me. That I'm
Mm-hmm.
running I call it my little business, but it's not little anymore.
It's
You
not
know what I
little.
mean?
It's a
It's not
full-time
little at
thing.
all. It's very much like those little things really add up. And now here I
Mm-hmm.
am doing something that I wouldn't have dreamed of even a year ago at this point. I would have thought myself to be dependent on a full time job for a long time. And all of a sudden, I made a choice to protect my peace. And it was one choice, one day. And then the next time it happened, that thought, I'm protecting my peace, came so much faster. And like, again, little things, they add up so fast, so fast.
Mm, mm. And I want to
Mhm.
repeat the questions
Yeah.
that you post onto yourself here, because
Mhm.
to all the listeners and to all the watchers, like this is literally what you should be asking yourself. Who do you want to be? And how do you want to be? And also, what are you prioritizing right now? Are you prioritizing focusing on the shit that's going on? Or are you prioritizing focusing on what's actually good for you? What is of service to you? And how can you live your best life? So those are like the questions that I feel like
That's
Get
so
that into
good.
your like mindset tool repertoire, please.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, I'm obsessed with that. And funny enough, I'm doing a freebie right now. Funny. This will be in like
Love it.
released soon. I'm releasing it later tonight, but the plan is to have it recurring. So if anyone's listening to this and wants to see like that sort of launch or whatever, I'm planning on doing this whole freebie PowerPoint presentation. You can come join in live and get the replay and all that stuff on turning your anger into power and finding a way of taking those things that like fire you up and fuel you. And it's honestly based on quitting that job and how that anger that I wasn't who I wanted to be and I was turning into someone completely different was fueling me into working this full time and working this hard full time and turning that anger into something that really was useful. It was all a mindset shift. I wasn't as angry in the end. I am less angry now than I was before. But honestly, if like you're losing sleep over that sort of stuff, if you're sacrificing your mental health over that sort of stuff, if it's hurting the people around you and you can't seem to stop the words from flowing out before you've like already complained a whole complaint to a person that like really didn't ask. There are so many ways that you can metabolize that sort of anger, that sort of fuel into something that really does light a good spark, a healthy spark. It is a mindset shift, really, in the end. But just in case anyone's listening and is interested, I hope to have this running.
I'm sure by the time the episode comes out, this will be live and running. So we will put that link into the description box 100%. I love it already. No. And I feel like that's actually a great segue into our fire round of questions.
Ooh, okay, bring it on.
Yes. So if you listened already to some episodes, you might have heard some of them already. And you know that I will first ask you, what is the number? Please tell me a number between 1 and 10.
7. Always comes to mind first.
So many people say 7. I think it's just a number. Okay, I will ask you 7 questions after I took a sip of water.
Okay. 7's a good one. 7's a healthy one. Really putting me in on this.
Yes. Okay. What is the Amanda way of living and leading your best life?
Ooh, obviously thinking about the little things as much as humanly possible, but also listening to your intuition as much as you can and truly listening to it and acting upon it, taking it and actually embodying it is so important. 100%.
I love that. When shit hits the fan, what do you tell yourself to get through it?
That's a good one. Oh, I am the type of person to say there are 2 voices in your head. The first one goes, oh shit. And so acknowledging that, oh shit, is actually the headspace that you are allowed to be in for a moment. But then that second voice that comes through, that second one that tells you that hard thing that oftentimes you don't want to do, but you really should do. That is what I do. That is what I try to listen to when shit hits the fan. That second voice that comes through, that it's the healthy option, but it's the harder option.
It is the harder one, but it is the worthy one.
Yes.
What is a key habit for success?
Ooh. See, I'm going to call it, what did Jess use what was the word that she used to describe it? I tend to say, like I use the word discipline, but I think it's just making choices, making that healthy choice for the person before you. And for me, like discipline, like quote unquote, is like, it's a strong word and everything, but it really does kick my ass into gear. And I find the more I discipline myself, the more I'm disciplined within my own body, like not so much disciplining other people, like that's a lot, but as long as I'm disciplining myself to get up before 8 in the morning, actually post my today's tarot in the morning, like especially when you're self-employed, but especially when you're trying to get your life back on track, I feel like self-discipline is like a key thing,
Sign me up on that one, because I'm a strong believer on like discipline over motivation. Like discipline is what gets you through the finishing line. It's not motivation. Motivation dies. It comes and goes, but discipline is what keeps you going, and that stays.
Yes. You know what? It's like getting past that honeymoon phase where you get really excited that you're doing that morning routine. And then that one day you wake up and you really don't want to do it, doing it anyway.
Exactly.
You're past that honeymoon phase, but you will come back around to that honeymoon phase. I swear to you. So discipline is a big word for me.
In other words, get married to your healthy habits.
Yes.
Get married to the choices you make, because it's commitment. It's a long-term commitment. You can't just be like, dating your healthy habits on like speed
It's
dating
so
or something.
true. You
Like,
can't just throw them in the
stick with it.
trash.
Exactly. It's not
Yeah.
like Tinder where you swipe like left and right. It's like, no, you stick with this one, and you have to stick with this
Yes.
one for a long time. So it really,
Yep.
really sticks.
It's true.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's such a good metaphor. Okay. What is your favorite book what is your favorite book that you would recommend to everyone?
The Goldfinch. Oh my goodness, I'm obsessed with that book. Who's it by? Donna
Goldfinch.
Hart? Yes, The Goldfinch. It's like if you like long books that take the time to describe the setting.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are like not down for that, but I loved The Goldfinch. It was one of those books, and I won't like spoil anything, but you have this kid who goes through this traumatic thing as a child, and you watch his life as he grows like into his mid 30s, basically. And I think there's like a Netflix movie about this. So if you want to just watch the movie, whatever. I've never seen the movie, so I can't recommend that, but the book was incredible. You watch him like spiral several times and then dig himself back up and then spiral again and then dig himself back up. And I feel like if you are trying to find that motivation to say, well, you know what? Someone has it worse. This guy has it worse. I promise you this. It's just so good. Oh my gosh, The Goldfinch is incredible. If you want something that's slow and you want something that's like not so like heavy, My Sister's Keeper by Jodi Picoult I think that's how you pronounce her name. Picoult, something like that. Anyway, My Sister's Keeper is incredible.
Keeper.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, they're both now on my to be read list.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
that's why I love asking this question, because I get like so many good recommendations. I'm like, sometimes I have never heard of those books, and I'm just like, but if they have so much meaning to you, I just want to read them. So
yeah, if you're not down for that 1,000-page book, My Sister's Keeper will get you. I was in tears on the third day. Oh man.
Oh wow. Okay.
So good.
I'm
in like
sold
good
on this
ways
one.
and bad ways. Oh man, it was incredible. Yeah.
Love it. Okay. What is a word or expression that you say all the time?
Oh. Okay. So lately I've been saying friggin' crap, Lois, all the time. I don't know. That's my way of getting out of like the actual swear. But sometimes it helps me, like, it friggin' crap, Lois. It just gets it out. You know what I mean? I don't even watch Family Guy, but
yeah, I was just like, that's from Family Guy.
I don't even watch Family Guy, but I can't get it out of my head. So if you want like a phrase from me, that is like my little button that you press on my doll, and that's what it's gonna say.
I love that. oh my gosh, that is so good. Okay. What is the theme song of your life? Or current season?
Oh, that's a question. I don't know if anyone listens to Haley Blay. She's like a Canadian indie artist, and I've seen her twice now in concert. She goes around. Like, I think she's in the UK now or something like that. Ooh. Haley Blay, her song Soft Spot for Monarchs is like, oh my goodness. It gives me all the feels. Yeah. But wait. Oh, there's so many options. And then the 1975's Somebody Else is basically the best song on the planet and my favorite song of all time. So those two in some sort of remixed loop or something like that. I don't know. Beginning and the ending of my season.
I love that. that. Okay, last question. Okay. Actually, I want to make this a special one, and it might not be possible, so you can just say no if it's not possible. But do you have your tarot cards with you?
Right. Oh my goodness, yes. Let me go grab them. Hold on.
Okay, grab them.
Down for this. I have them close. I think my bag has behind. Oh, right here. Oh man.
Okay, so the question would be,
okay,
what is the tarot card that you would love to pull for everybody listening and watching?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna pull random. Random for something. I just want to see what comes out. Give me a little shuffle here. Oh, I think there's the one that I've pulled for. Okay, no, actually, I have to keep it a secret. I'm gonna pull one. Can you hear my little shuffle sounds and everything?
Yes, I can hear. It's almost like a little bit of ASMR of card shuffling.
This is so good. Okay, the Justice card is the one that's come out, which is so funny because of all things for us to be talking about balance, mindset, really thinking about like what is right, what is truth. And specifically within this version of the card, like I know people listening to this podcast can't hear. So it's the Golden Universal Tarot. It's a play on the classic Rider-Waite-Smith deck. But in this version of the card, she's wearing orange and green, which is very much that creativity, that drive, that spark. It's the sacral plexus that it focuses on quite a bit, but also the heart space. And when I explain the heart space, I explain it in two parts. There's the green side, which is in the color spectrum of the rainbow, that I aspect to the health and the what is self-care. Whereas there's the pink side, which is very much the self-love and giving yourself grace. And honestly, there are times where you have to give yourself that mercy, that grace. You really do need to like soften yourself a little bit. But there are other sides where it's like, okay, what is the healthiest option for me right now? What is the best choice for my body, my mind, my space? What is the best thing for me to do in that case? And so her being so focused on that drive, that fire, that passion, as well as that health heart space, especially when it comes to justice. What is the right choice for you to do moving forward? When you're stuck in that situation where someone has a quirk, someone's chewing really loud, and you have like a close friend who has asked you, this is me like talking like so personal, like this is literally my life, but you have a friend who wants to go out for a dinner and you don't want to do it because you know that friend and their like close friend that's also going are loud chewers. In a sense like that, what is the healthier option? What is the most like truthful, honest, best answer for you, your heart space, and the people around you in that moment? What is driving you forward? Because if that drive is like shoving you into a corner, oftentimes it won't be, fine, whatever. But I feel like 90% of the time you're going to sit down and say, I should do this for them. I should do this for me. I should just like bring my little loop earplugs and like put them in, and then it just softens the blow a little bit. Finding that balance between how does it serve you and your heart space as well as drive you forward in life. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love how this like fits so well to what we have been talking about today in this episode.
So good.
Oh, I'm like awestruck. I love this so much. But before we have to wrap up, I'm so sad that we have to wrap up. But before we do so, where can people find you and get into your world?
Yeah, I am on Instagram every single day. So find me on Instagram. I will answer in like a snap. It's the fastest place to reach me. I'm on Facebook as well. Not so often on Facebook. So if you're on Instagram, I recommend you go over there. And I'm also relaunching my Patreon on Monday, which like Monday is like what, the 3rd or something like that?
The 2nd.
Oh, wait.
Is it not the 2nd?
What is happening? It is the 2nd. I'm looking at the wrong month. The 2nd of September, I will be having my Patreon up and live and going, and there'll be collective card readings, like blog posts, behind the scenes, extra podcast episodes, all the fun stuff. And the perks are incredible. So you definitely need to check the Patreon out.
Oh, amazing. And I will obviously link all of that into the description box. So go and do check Amanda out. Like you need to be in her energy. Like I just felt like I just got an energy shower of you right now.
Oh my goodness. I love you. That's so cute.
Love you back, man.
Dude, this is so fun though. I love this. Like our live stream was incredible. We need to do that again as well.
Yes, 100%. Like, oh my gosh, the vibes were just immaculate as they were today. So I just feel so grateful, so blessed to have this connection. And thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today and for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
It really was. Like my cheeks are hurting. I feel like I need a cheek massage. I love it though. I love high energy podcasts. So thank you so much. And to all the listeners and watchers, if you again, like if you want to tap into Amanda's world, do so. Literally just do so. And I shall see you again with another episode next week, Monday. Bye. I love, by the way, like your microphone, or yeah, I think it's your microphone, right? It's like
Yeah.
glowing.
I can like move it over a little. There. It's the end of my table.
It might be good because it otherwise covers you, and obviously we want the perfect
True.